All right, so here we go. Just another update. As you can see, a lot of progress has been made on putting the cab all back together and putting the front fenders back on, of course, getting everything tightened down. So that's really the tough part, is all the little things that are needed. You know, of course, hung the doors back on. Right now, I'm still using the 2004 door cards, but I am using the 2006 dash, and then I am using the 2006 seats, which they're just in better shape. As far as wiring goes, I did use the body wire harness that was in this truck. I did have to take the headliner down, and I had to put the headliner harness in just because of the way that it connected at the plugs in the A-pillar, specifically this A-pillar over here. And I looked at the wires and I looked to see if I could just switch over the connector, and at the end of it, it was just easier to switch over the whole harness. The difference being the rear view mirror on the 2006 Power Wagon comes from the passenger side A-pillar, where on the 2004 it was all just part of the harness. But as you can see, this stuff, I know the lighting in here has never been that great. If I open the garage door more, then you get too much outside light, and if I don't open it, then you get a lot of haloing from the overhead light. But either way, pretty much back together. The only other thing for the center console, the 2006 had 4 wires. There was 2 additional ones beyond the power and the ground, but I only hooked up the 2. So I do just have this seat just kind of in place for now. Luckily this year you can unbolt the seat from the seat frames. So I do want to, there's one of the power motors on the power seat that's not working right. So once I get power to this thing, I can hopefully take the motor from the other power seat frame to make this work. But yeah, most of the rest of it went together pretty well. Really no significant issues. I'm trying to think if there's anything worth talking about. All the harnesses plugged together fine. Of course, I'm using the same doors, so the doors went together fine. I pretty much set the engine compartment so it's ready to go. Trying to tilt it here to avoid the halo from that overhead light, but yeah, pretty much everything's set in here. Really happy with how it came out. I did find that the steering shaft, so I went to go install it and then realized that the U-joints in the shaft are worn, so I did order another, I guess that's called the lower shaft here, and then the one up by the firewall is the intermediate shaft. But I did set that up. I adjusted the track bar. Obviously, now that I'm starting to put some weight on the vehicle, I needed to adjust it to recenter the axle, because when I first installed it, I installed it with with nothing on it, so it was unloaded. I was happy that I could adjust it while the vehicle is together. It made a big difference not having to unbolt it from the frame to adjust it. And the way that it's set up is you can turn it, and one side's right hand thread and one hand's left hand thread. One side's left hand thread. I did finally bolt the cab all in 100%. So let's see if you can see any light here. Yep, so you can see that rear washer, and then here's the front. Of course, the fronts aren't the one that really matter, because that part of the frame was unaltered. But the rear, everything bolted up really nice on both sides. Everything's center lined. The only thing I did notice is that when I look at the bolt hole in relationship to the body mount hole, that I probably shortened the frame about 1/16 of an inch too much. Every other hole is center lined on the cab from the the front 4 holes, but this rear one is a little bit to the back by about 1/16 of an inch. But all in all, not a big deal. Everything else looks pretty good. And the reason why I say not a big deal is because if you look here between the cab and the bed, you know, I can easily still get my hand between there. If I had really messed that dimension up, then this distance would have got less and less. So I think that's about what factory was, and so pretty happy with that. But yeah, really excited. So the next question I have to resolve is the motor. So I did hear from the vendor, I think CNC is the vendor I'm using to get the stroker kit from, and the pistons are delayed, so I won't even probably see the stroker kit for another 3 weeks, and then it's going to be 4 weeks at least for the machine shop to bore at 10 thousandths and go through it. So a part of me is really tempted to just put this motor, even if I take the heads off and put the D-port heads on it and just throw a set of head gaskets and bolts on it, to put this motor back in the truck so I can finish and just confirm or deny that everything's going to work right. Specifically, I want to make sure that the airbag system is going to work properly. I used the 2004 airbag system, which the only harness that came from the dash, from the steering wheel and the passenger side, plugged right into the box. It was the only opening that was left open. So I'm pretty sure the brains of that airbag system are going to talk with the airbags from the 2006 dash. But I just want to confirm. And then of course I did my best to try to keep the steering wheel locked, but of course if I rotated that steering wheel too much, then I'm sure I damaged the clock spring. But so just a couple things I want to figure out there to make sure that it's going to work. And then for the rest of it, really, it's all the Power Wagon wire harness for the whole chassis. So I'm not really too concerned about the chassis harness. And then the engine compartment, I'm using the engine compartment harness from the Power Wagon too. So all that doesn't really concern me very much, because I have a feeling it's all going to work just fine. But it was pretty exciting to get this far along in this short a period of time. I mean, I've only been working on this thing for about 2 months. And as you can see from the other videos, I really had to take it all the way down to the frame, to sandblast the frame, to get it to the point where then I could start building it back up. I do think it's going to level out. I am happy to see that once I put the doors back on and all that, the front end has come down quite a bit. It's tough to tell with some of these angles, but it has come down a lot. And I think once I put the motor in, the motor is going to be another 500 pounds. And with the amount of weight that's on it right now, even just me resting on it, I can bounce the front end. So I think it's right at the point where, any amount of weight is going to start to bring it down. So I'm pretty happy about that. I just wasn't sure how that was going to work out when I replaced those springs. So that is another thing I really want to figure out. The only thing I really have left to do today, until I run out of parts again, is put on these braided brake lines. So I put the one on for the rear already, and then now I just have to do the fronts. So I'll probably put those on today. I guess I could bleed the brake system after that, but that's really all I've got left for parts right now. At some point I am going to do the ball joints in the front end, but I want to get it back together and running first before I do the ball joints, because at the same time I'm going to do a lockout kit, or the free spinning hub kit. So as most of you guys know, these don't come with the ability to lock and unlock the front hubs, but there's a kit out there that enables you to do that. So I'm going to do the ball joints and that kit at the same time, just because you're in there almost to the same level of work. So that's all I have for today. Again, if you're watching these, I really appreciate you're taking the time to watch them. If you're getting something out of this, that's ultimately the goal. I am just a